You talked about Lucifer Effect. So what Lucifer Effect is?
Lucifer Effect is a book by Philip Zimbardo, and it talks about his experiences from his professional work as a psychologist and as a professor. And he was studying the effects of systems when it comes to good and evil. And the book Lucifer Effect is just about how to turn good people into evil people, and what the system has to do to make that happen. And I just transferred it to how we are in the Scrum world, or in the, let's say, in the professional world, somehow turning good people into bad teams. So it's not about evil, but it's about bad.
So how do we turn good people in bad teams?
It happens when the system underlying our teams does not fit to what we are trying to accomplish. And so one of the aspects I talked about was the command and control structure that still many of the organizations I work with have. So you have management, you have hierarchies, they treat people like resources, they talk about we and them, they have all these divisions that don't talk to each other, that hand over documents and stuff, and that's really hurting our complex world, because what we need is collaboration, we need cross-functional work. And so this is something I talked about, and an effect of this is that we are diffusing responsibility, because I'm not the one who did something wrong. It was this guy not delivering the artifact, and it was that guy selling stuff that I cannot build, and it was the process anyway, because it's too complicated and I cannot do it, and the project manager had too much pressure on me. So we can diffuse responsibility and refuse to be responsible ourselves, and that's why our implementations sometimes doesn't work. And with Scrum, I mean, that was the outcome in the end. With Scrum and the possibilities we have there with the different events and the artifacts and the roles, we are creating exactly an environment where these systemic failures don't happen.
The next problem that I face is that the reason why we still do that is because the management feel not safe. They not feel safe enough with their people to give responsible to them. What can we do to make them feel safe?
Funny enough, there were several people that asked me the same question that you did, and I don't have an answer. So I don't know what to do and what we can do. We are trying to educate management that complexity needs different problem-solving strategies than simple and industrial problems that we have had in the last 100 years. And so I think education is doing one trick. Coaching is another one. We should coach people. People should get used to the idea that no matter how good they are in what they're doing and how good they are in their job, that they need someone to make them even better. And this is a coaching approach that I like a lot.
Going back to the Lucifer effect, what would be the most valuable arguments for the management to believe that they should lose this hierarchy and structure of their company and move to Scrum?
I think that we are now in a position where we can put our beliefs that we have created over the last 15, 20 years, and we can now prove it with science. So there are great books outside. There is Management 3.0 by Jürgen Appelo. There is Organizing for Complexity by Niels Pfleging. And these show with scientific proof what we are doing. And the works of Dave Snowden go in the same direction, because we have people from the science world who really show us what complexity is, how our complex systems work, what the relation from complex systems and organizations to organisms is, and my organism doesn't work with command and control. It's not the brain telling my cells to do stuff, and this is something we can use as proof and as convincing arguments for management to give up their old beliefs. In the end, results matter. And I think more and more organizations are going into Agile, and more organizations are really improving the work of software development and organizational structure. And I think all these success stories, they add on top of each other. And in the end, I think everybody has to be convinced. Just like 100 years ago, it was Taylor who was telling people, divide your work into smaller and smaller pieces, create a process on it, and then it will work. And it did work. It did work for the problems that we had back then. But now we have different problems, we need different solutions for them.
So what's your favorite success story?
Oh, that's difficult. I think, but it's only because the guys impressed me a lot. I learned to know some of them on the Agile Coaching Stance class I was taking place, and it was the guys from Spotify. And the approach they had, and they have, with these guilds and this matrix structure that's very, very sophisticated, but on the other hand is so super simple. Everybody understands it at once, that you are in some kind of interest family, and you are in a guild of professionals, and you work for a specific problem with specific colleagues, and I just like the ideas from them. So Spotify I think is my favorite.
So another question like that. You talked about like 4 books. Which is your favorite? Which would you recommend to read first when you're a agile coach and you want to convince your management to do Scrum from top to the bottom?
That's difficult. If it's really about convincing management, then I would recommend Organizing for Complexity by Nils Pfleging. Because this is, maybe it's because I read it at the last, and it's a book that really goes into the details of why organizations should be organized in this way that we have now, in cells and organisms and working together cross-functionally. If I would be a Scrum Master working with a team or starting to work with a team, it would be Lisa Atkins' book, Coaching Agile Teams. If I was a manager who was interested myself in improving my own work, it would be Jürgen Appelo, Management 3.0. I guess that's it.
So thank you very much. I will definitely read the books that you and I didn't read it already. So thank you again.